Okay, recording in progress. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar with Jorge Barrios from Xavier University. Guys, I'm gonna just go right ahead and let Jorge introduce himself. More people are joining us, but the focus today, once again, is to talk about Xavier University and, of course, application, how to best organize yourself in order to prepare a strong application to the US. Okay, please feel free to put your questions in the chat, as I've said before, and don't worry, we'll have some time for Q&A later at the end of the session. Okay, so Jorge, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayra, and good afternoon to all of you. I'm very happy to be able to present to you not only Xavier University, the university I represent in Latin America, based in Cincinnati, Ohio, but also to talk more about the application process for a US university in general. We'll be showing a little bit of, in comparison, of what is the standard process versus how it works with Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio. You'll see the differences, but you will come out of this presentation, hopefully, with enough information to be confident on start your application. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen. It should work, no problem right now. There we go. Okay, perfect. So the name of today's event is Your Roadmap to Studying in the US, Tips and Tricks for a Smooth Application Process. As you can see on your screen right now, EducationUSA has done a great job on simplifying what are the steps to take to successfully start your university degree in the United States. And the focus for today's event is step number 3, complete your application. Applying to study in the US is a task that requires time and concentration. So I think this webinar today will give you enough tips and tricks, as I mentioned before, to be confident on how to do that. You have the link to the website of EducationUSA specifically for you to review these steps right here. You can see them. You can screenshot this and later perhaps review the process yourself. So let's jump right ahead on this step 3, complete your application. The focus for me today is going to be undergraduate degrees. All right. Of course, you know, the application process might change depending on if you're going for a graduate degree, if you're going for a community college degree, or a different institution aside of a university. So just keep in mind, I'm going to be speaking about undergraduate application process. And you have 4 main pieces of documentation for your application displayed on this slide. Educational credentials. Usually this is your high school diploma and your respective notes or transcripts. We call them transcripts, as well as any national final exams required in the country. The transcripts are certified copies of educational transcripts, courses, and grades. Usually, a university in the US would request this directly from your high school. So you're not going to be able to send them from your email to a university. Certain universities will accept this to trigger the application process, but the official documentation will need to come from your high school. So you have to request your high school to send it to a specific email address. In the case of Xavier University, since I am taking care of Latin America, including Brazil, of course, then you will be able, for example, to send these documents, these transcripts directly to me, which is an advantage. So you don't need to sort of channel them through a generic email, hoping that this will be received. but you will be able to confirm with me if I received them, if your high school has sent them to me directly, etc. Then you have the standardized tests. These are the assessment scores that are often required to establish academic level for the US as an institution, and for undergrad as a destination, sorry, and for undergraduate degrees. You have the most popular ones, ACT and SAT, and as the standard exams. And you have also English proficiency level tests. These are better known, IELTS and TOEFL. Those two are the most popular ones. For Xavier University, or let's put it this way, for universities from the US in general, the ACT and SAT most likely will be required. And I mean, it's a good way to sort of standardize or simplify your application if you're planning to apply to different universities from the US. For Xavier University, for the university I represent, this is optional. What is the advantage of taking the ACT or the SAT is that most likely you will not require to then later show your English proficiency level. So if for Xavier University, these ACT, SAT are optional, but then either way you will need to show English proficiency level. IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo has become very popular as well. We accept Duolingo with Xavier University. A lot of universities accept Duolingo. The difference there might be on what is the minimum score that they expect from you, right? So keep that in mind. And then you have, as the third segment, the letter of recommendation. So this can come from the school principal, career counselor, vocational counselor, tutor, teachers. They can write a letter of recommendation. Usually a university will expect at least one, maybe one or two will be a good way to go about this. And they should write about your academic performance, your character, and mentioning your potential for a higher education degree. We'll talk more about letter of recommendation a little bit later in the presentation. But what I can tell you is that you need to make sure to choose someone who knows you well from your high school, of course. So it's important that you pick either a teacher, a tutor, or someone that actually you have or has pay attention to you through your high school experience, right? Finally, the personal statement or essay, and this is your chance to write about your interests, long-term goals, and strengths. And I will say it's one of the most important documents of your application. We'll talk more about it as well in the next slide, but it's important that you keep in mind that if you're thinking of scholarships, either merit entrance scholarships or any type of scholarship, any type of opportunity to get access to scholarship package, you shouldn't be only thinking about academic performance or your transcripts as the main piece of documentation, but also you need to know that a university and admissions department is going to pay attention to those letters of recommendation, to your personal essay, and put all together to make a decision on what is your profile as a student and what are you bringing to the table for the university, the community where the university is based, the location where the university is. So keep that in mind. You can check for specific requirements on the website of the international admissions, the department or office of each institution you're applying for. And it is typical for the US for undergraduate degrees that applications can be submitted between November and January. If you're thinking of starting your undergraduate degree for fall, meaning end of August, beginning of September. So that's fall is the main intake. And as you can tell, you might require at least 6 months to prepare that application and sort of to finalize that process. So keep that in mind. And with that being said, let's talk about then 12. I have basically summarized this in 12 tips and tricks for your application process. Remember, undergraduate degree, although you can use a lot of these for any type of application, graduate or other types of programs with institutions in the US. So number one, start early. Obviously, as I was mentioning about this, at least 6 months and etc. You should begin your preparation early, ideally in your junior year of high school. So a lot of students think that this is a process that should start on their last year, but in reality, the more prepared you are, the more informed you are, the earlier you started your research, the better for you. You will have enough time to get to know or do research about the universities you want to apply for, compare them, have a good idea on the deadlines. You know, what are the dates for application? When should I arrive? When should I start my application to the student visa? When should I start my application to a scholarship? If they have, for example, maybe a full ride scholarship or a hefty, big scholarship that could help your budget. All of that will require some time. So my recommendation is don't even wait until your last year of high school. Then a couple of years before that, you're most likely going to make a very informed decision, and most likely you will be successful as well in your academic and study goals overseas. And number two, take a standardized test. Most US universities require international students to take a standardized test, as I mentioned, SAT, ACT. As I mentioned as well, Xavier University takes these ones as optional, but as a rule of thumb, the recommendation is that you should aim to take these ones. And as well, that's what is important to start early for you to actually prepare for this test as well. So make sure you register and prepare for this test well in advance. Same thing with English proficiency test, TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, if these are not your first language. But also, if you're coming from a high school that has international curricula, either an American or the UK, maybe Cambridge, etc., a lot of US universities might have a waiver, so you might not need to take a separate test. With Xavier University, if your high school has an international curricula, we will review the transcripts. We will do or we'll contact or review the profile of the high school, and we might not require for you to submit an English proficiency test. So keep that in mind. There is waivers. There's certain universities will have flexibility with this. Number three, build a strong academic profile. And I recommend you to pay attention to number 3, 4, 5, and 6. As I mentioned before, these are the ones that will help you with your application to scholarships. And I'll be talking to you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So build a strong academic profile. Number 3, US universities value academic excellence. So you need to maintain a high GPA. So that's grade point average. That's basically how we put together an equivalent. So if you are in a Brazilian high school and perhaps the top score is 100 points, or maybe it's 10 points, 20 points, 5 points, or maybe it's 4 points. For a US institution, the GPA, the top score is 4 points. And with Xavier University, we accept a GPA from 3 points onwards. But if you have a different scale, we will put together the equivalent. We will evaluate your transcripts and then decide if you are within that range of acceptance. Different universities and even different programs might have a different requirement on the GPA. So keep that in mind. My suggestion is that you keep yourself at least on the top 25% of your class. So make sure, of course, if you're aiming to study in a good university in the US, make sure that you keep a strong academic profile. Aside from this, another suggestion will be that you take challenging coursework and engage in extracurricular activities as well. So you don't need to be top of your class academically, but as long as you show as well interest in perhaps extracurricular activities, that you show that you've been participating in workshops, you're also displaying your academic profile in a different way. So there's not only one way of doing this. You don't need to be a genius necessarily. You can actually complement your academic profile in different ways. And with that being mentioned, the tip number 4, get involved in extracurricular activities. So participating in extracurricular activities such as sports, clubs, workshops, community service, or any leadership roles can showcase your talent, skills, leadership abilities, and definitely make your application stand out. So keep that in mind. There are different ways of showing that you are an applicant that let's say has different interests and has perhaps leadership potential. All of that are things that a university are looking for. So it's not necessarily, as I said, having the best scores, but actually being able to display what are you bringing to the table with your application. Tip number 5, request a strong recommendation letters. As I mentioned, most likely from someone that knows you, that has interact with you, that has seeing you participate in your high school experience at different levels from different perspectives. So as I mentioned, can be teachers, counselors, or even other individuals. It could be your coach from, who knows, the soccer team, for example, right? It needs to be people that will be able to speak about your abilities, your character, your potential. And you definitely need to give them enough time to write the letters and be able to give them information, about how to do that for this process. Remember, a lot, if not most of the documents that you will need to send for your application will need to come from the source. So it's not like you can ask, I don't know, your counselor to send your recommendation letter and you will resend or forward that to us. So that's why you need to be prepared, know exactly or strategically who you're going to ask these letters from. Someone that knows you, that has interacted with you, that has perhaps was part of a project or a extracurricular activity that you participated in, and give them enough time. Let them know where they need to send this, if there's a specific form or format, or if they can just go ahead and write them as they feel them. So keep that in mind. I have seen a lot of times last minute requests on references, and well, usually teachers, guidance counselors, they keep busy, so you might feel a bit disappointed later if they are not sending information quick enough, and that will be your responsibility actually. So allow enough time for this process. Number 6, write a compelling personal statement or essay. Your personal statement or essay is an opportunity to showcase your personality, interests, and motivations. Make sure that you write a well-crafted essay that reflects your unique voice and experiences. So you need to basically put this from a first person perspective, talking about why you're choosing the US for your project, your education project, why you're choosing, for example, Xavier University, why you're choosing your major, what do you plan to do with the major you are choosing, with this experience you want to live. And it's super important then that it comes from you, that you know, this is a first person written statement, and you're able, this is the opportunity where you are able to display the reasons behind and a little bit the vision that you have about this study project. So you need to take this document very seriously. It doesn't need to be a Bible, you know, you don't need to write many pages of that. I'll recommend, you know, a couple of pages perhaps where you can talk about this information. But then remember, build a strong academic profile. Number 3, 4, get involved in extracurricular activities. 5, ask a strong letter of recommendation. And 6, write a compelling essay. All these tips, all these pieces of documentation are gonna be paramount, super important to your success applying to scholarships, right? And don't think that it's just about academic results. It's just about being the best of your class, but there all these components that I just mentioned will be taken in consideration, right? So number 7, research financial aid options, talking about scholarships. You need to understand the costs associated with studying in the US. So you need to research available financial aid options for international students. You need to make sure that these are for international students, because a lot of applicants, they will do a quick Google research, or they will just go to the wrong section at the university and look for scholarships, and they don't realize that this is for local domestic students, and it does not apply to their status as international applicant. So it is important then that you put some time on that. A lot of universities will display a section specifically for international students, where you could see scholarships, grants, or other forms of financial assistance. You need to check eligibility requirements, deadlines again. So the big ones, the 100% scholarship, either full ride, or perhaps you will have a 50% scholarship, etc. The big ones will usually have a deadline. You will have a specific time frame for that application, so you need to be aware of it. Then you will have certain grants and smaller amounts that, for example, merit entrance scholarships might not need a separate application, and only with your application to the university you will be considered. So some universities will be more generous than others. I will talk to you about Xavier University's scholarship package a little bit later when we talk more about Xavier University in specific. But then keep in mind that the bigger scholarships, they have deadlines, they have timeframes, they have specific requirements, they have a specific eligibility. So and usually they will have also a limited amount of scholarships given per year as well. So keep all that in mind, and you know, depending on your profile, on how much you have prepared for this application, for this project, most likely you will be one of the lucky ones. But again, you need information, you need to be prepared. And that's one of the advantages as well, having representation in the region, like for Xavier University. You can talk to me about that. If there is some information that perhaps the website is not very clear on, you can always ask the question and I'll be able to help. So number 8, submit a complete application. So you need to review your application carefully to ensure that all requirements requirements like documents, transcripts, test scores, the essay, recommendation letters, that all that is submitted before the deadline. Some universities are more flexible than others, but of course, the more you know about what is the deadline, what are the specific dates for each thing, the better for you. In certain cases, and it's not usual, but in certain cases, depending on how much demand there is for a faculty college inside a university, for a major perhaps, some incomplete applications can be rejected. And it's, as I said, it's not the usual case, but also, if that's the worst case scenario, but also some international admissions departments will review your application, and if it is incomplete, send a quick note, a quick email, and then go to the next 100 or the next 200 applications, right? So the moment of the next opportunity for them to review whatever amendment, whatever additional piece of documentation or information you have provided, it might take longer for them to review a second time that application. So the more complete it is, the more information you have included, the better for you the first time. So again, there's once again an advantage of having someone that can help you, like in the case with Xavier University. You're not sending this information to the US or to an admissions office, but you can send it through me, and I can help you a little bit prepare that application the proper way, so you avoid as many mistakes as possible. Number 9, keep track of deadlines. Make a list of all application deadlines for each university you're applying to, including admission, financial aid, scholarships, etc. So you need to stay organized and submit your application materials ahead of time to avoid last-minute stress, which is something that also I see a lot. The more you wait, the thinking that you have enough time, the most stressful it will turn out to be for you. So allow enough time for you to manage the situation and not be running around or chasing your guidance counselor or chasing the admissions department, etc., because you are missing a document. Number 10, communicate with admissions offices. If you have questions or concerns during your application process, do not hesitate to reach out to admission offices of the universities you're applying to. In the case of Xavier University, of course, you can come to me, but we are basically here to help you and provide guidance. So use that channel if you have access to talk to someone from an admission office, or if you have a in-country representative, that's going to be your best ally for this process. Step 11, follow visa requirements. Again, as part of your research, you need to be informed about what is the student visa application process, what triggers that process, what once you are admitted in a U.S. University, what documents is the U.S. University going to provide you to start that process? Is there a cost involved? What documents do they require to provide you with that process? And I'm talking about the I-20. Some of you might already be informed about that piece of documentation, but you need to do some research about that and be familiarized with that aspect of the process as well. Some embassies, depending on the city in Brazil that you are, if they manage the process in a specific city, it might take longer for you to be able to get access to a visa interview. It varies a lot depending on where you are based in Latin America. Some cities will have you sitting down the interview in one day after your application. Some of them will be in an average of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So you need to be informed ahead of time. And last trick, be patient and persistent. The application process can be complex and time consuming. So you need to be patient and persistent, keep track of the progress, follow up on your application, and yeah, just be ready to wait for the decision. So basically, in summary, remember to plan ahead, stay organized, reach out for assistance when needed, make sure that you are picking a university that is establishing a communication with you. The bigger the university, most likely the more time you will require, and the more insistent and persistent you will need to be to stand out and sort of get some responses. So that's where the patience comes in. With a careful preparation and attention to detail, you can increase your chances of a smooth, successful application process. And that's basically all the tips and tricks I have for you in general for applying to undergraduate programs in US universities. If you're okay with that, Mayra, I'll go ahead and talk about Xavier University specifically.
Yes, that sounds great.
Perfect. So let's do this. As I mentioned before, I am the regional director of recruitment for Xavier University. This university is based in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I'm going to show you a quick video of our campus. This is a drone video of our campus, and it's a good way to give you an idea of the university facilities. Xavier University is a medium-sized university founded by the company of Jesus, the Jesuit community 200 years ago. The college population in Xavier University consists of 5,000 undergraduate students and 2,000 graduate students. So there is the majority of the focus is on undergraduate, but as you can tell, it's a beautiful university. 54% of the students come from outside Ohio, so from different states, and a lot of these students as well come from 32 different countries, which is it shows a little bit of the type of community that you can expect with Xavier University. I will say close to 15% of undergraduate students are international students. Being a Jesuit, and a part of company of Jesus University, there's a lot of focus on integration. This is the first day of classes for fall. For this year is the 21st of August. But this is what we do. The first day of classes, you have a lot of seniors and older students sort of welcoming you to the campus, try to sign you up on extracurricular activities, clubs, workshops. And so this is one of the advantages of being a mid-sized university as well. You're not gonna get lost in the crowd and sort of feel a little bit isolated, which is one of the biggest challenges for an international student that arrives. Perhaps in other universities, there are state universities, and that might be the biggest challenge. It's not only the way it feels the first day, but also in classes. If some state universities, they will have classes the size of 200, 300, 400 students in a class, and that might be something you're not used to. The dynamics are completely different in that sort of environment. So a mid-sized university, it's a smooth way to sort of go through the process of adapting and feeling part of your new campus. As a Jesuit university as well, if you have studied or you are studying in a Jesuit university, you will know that most of these institutions are very good at sports, because they pay a lot of attention to sports. We have been champions of the Big East tournament several years. This is actually our basketball coliseum. We have very nice facilities when it comes to sports, but it's not only Division I or competitive sports. You also have intramural competitions and sport clubs that you can be part of. We have facilities for tennis, soccer, football, American football, basketball, volleyball, golf, even martial arts. I know in Brazil is a big thing. So keep in mind that. So if you are not at competitive level and it's not an aim of yours, you can still practice in intramural competitions, with other students as well. So you can keep a little bit your activities if you have a focus on the sports and you want to keep doing that as part of your experience while you're studying Xavier University. I hope perhaps in a future opportunity to be able to talk more about sports in the US and opportunities as well with Xavier University. A lot of Latin American students ask about scholarships related to sports. What is the process? How easy or how difficult it is to apply for this? That the truth is that it's not as easy as someone might think, but there is always openings. Just for this fall, we have an Argentinian student actually that has gained access to a scholarship through our soccer team. So again, it's a reality. I don't want to give you false expectations. It's difficult, but it might be interesting in the future to be able to talk to you a little bit more about that process. These are some stats about the university, and I think this is going to display well some of the information I've been giving to you so far. We have more than 90 undergraduate programs, so more than 90 majors to choose from, 4 colleges or faculties to choose from. And we have Faculty of Health, we have Professional Sciences, Arts and Sciences, and our School of Business. So those are the 4 colleges where inside them you can pick more than 90 undergraduate programs. We're ranked 54 as best undergraduate colleges. And remember that in the US, you have more than over 4,000 institutions. So that's a pretty good ranking for Xavier University. It's a mid-sized school. Remember, our focus is very heavy on undergraduate programs and undergraduate experience. 93% of our senior students rate their experience as good or excellent. I was talking about the size of classrooms. So we have a 12-to-1 student-teacher ratio. You're not going to find classes that have more than 30 students. And again, that's not a trivial aspect. I truly believe that if you're not used to a huge classroom, 300, 400 students, this is important. Personalized education, having a teacher or a classroom that knows you by name, that knows your face, sometimes has a positive effect on your experience. Most likely will. 1 in 3 students work hand in hand with a faculty member or on a research project. 1 in 2 students spend more than an hour each week volunteering. Almost all the students have participated in an internship, field experience, a project to support other students. So there's a lot of community there, but also there's a lot of opportunities of work, of internships, volunteering works, of work field experiences, and all that. Our university campus has a mall, a little bit of a shopping mall inside the campus. So first year you can actually work there, but also you have opportunities later in your undergraduate program to be able to work as well as a tutor for other students. So there are different opportunities there, aside from the typical CPT, OPT scheme. hopefully, you know, I'm not going to talk much about that today, but keep in mind then that the fact that it's a mid-sized school that is based in a city like Cincinnati, where there is 7 companies, part of the Fortune 500 list of companies, allows for a good employability rate. So there's a lot of opportunities there. Jumping directly into application requirements, I was mentioning some of these already while we were talking about tips and tricks and what a standard application looks for a university in the US. But it will be important to tell you that you can apply to Xavier University through Common App. So remember, you can apply to many universities at the same time through Common App. It's an advantage in certain cases, but you can also apply to through our website. In Xavier University, we have an application form in the website, and it's free of cost. There's no application fee. That's not always the case, of course, but Xavier University does not charge you for your application. So I believe it's a good way to sort of go through the process free of cost and sort of get your feet wet on how to push this process forward. I'm not recommending you to make a fake application, but what I'm definitely telling you is that at least you will not have the stress of getting it wrong, and this has already cost me money, and etc. So you can have a little bit of a more friendly experience through your application process. We accept for English proficiency. Well, first of all, as I said, the standardized tests like ACT and SAT, sorry, these are optional. But if you take them, we might not require then a test of English proficiency, IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo. I remember mentioning, you can see that the scores for TOEFL and IELTS are very standard. Most of universities require the same, but with Duolingo, we only require 110 points. I don't know how long that's gonna stay like that, but most universities will ask you for 120. So that's a little bit of an advantage. That's I will say something to keep in mind. I believe that for undergraduate degrees, depending on your situation, being able to do a Duolingo test, it might be better for your pocket. It might be more friendly for your budget. So it's good to have that option. For graduate degrees, of course, you should be aiming to have a TOEFL and IELTS or similar. Of course, because you're thinking of your CV, your resume later, right? And Duolingo might not look too serious. So just keep that in mind. As I mentioned before, if you're coming from an international high school, either IB or an American or British curricula, we will take that in consideration to waive your English proficiency certification. So as you can tell, there's a lot of flexibility with our application, no application fee, optional ACT, SAT, Duolingo at 110, and then the high school transcripts. This is the top 25% of your class. So out of 4 points, you should have a minimum of 3 when it comes to GPA. Keep that in mind. We require an essay. We require a letter, at least one letter of recommendation. And you have there the email where you can submit these documents, but you can also send them, as I mentioned before, directly to me, which makes things easier as well. I speak Portuguese, but don't test me. So I'm better understanding Portuguese than actually talking in Portuguese. And this is perhaps a part that a lot of you will be interested in listening. So scholarships and cost attendance. We have our main scholarship is the merit entrance scholarship. You don't need to submit a separate application for this. With your application, keeping in mind that you have to have or you need to have a strong academic profile, as I mentioned before. You need to have good recommendation letters where it shows a profile where you have most likely participated in some extracurricular activity or workshop, but there's a little bit of display of the quality of the applicant, that you are not only with your scores, your final scores. Also, paying attention to that essay that is placed from your point of view. You know, what are your goals? Why you have made why you have chosen Xavier University? What do you want to do with that major, and etc. With all that together, we will evaluate what is the merit scholarship package that we'll be awarding to you. And from all the applicants from Latin America, all of them have received a merit scholarship. Currently, the minimum is $22,000 per year and a maximum of $25,000 per year. These are not only for the first year, these are actually for each of the 4 years of your undergraduate degree. So I get that question asked a lot. So is that just for the first year? No, it will be for each of the 4 years you will study. Okay. Not only that, keep in mind that although we are still a private university and we don't give full ride scholarships, we do also award more scholarships and grants. So on average, we have given, we have awarded to Latin American students around $35,000 on scholarships. So it's not only the merit scholarship, you will have the possibility of having a housing scholarship, or having an extra merit scholarship, perhaps access to our student ambassador program, which gives you another scholarship. All of them add up to an extra $10,000. So you do the math, but then if you got the $25,000 per year, you might also gain access to an additional $10,000 for your study, for your undergraduate program with us. So the tuition fees, this is in our website, for $48,125 per year. This is with no scholarships considered. So you know, once you subtract the 25,000 plus the 10,000, that reduces at least 60% of the budget that you need to consider per year. Housing and meals, we have accommodation in our campus, different types of accommodation. It is compulsory that you live in the campus the first year as an undergraduate or a freshman of our undergraduate programs. And we have different types. You have the typical share accommodation, the whole sort of accommodation where you are sharing with 3 or 4 students in one room. You have shared bathroom facilities, etc. If you have watched some American movies, you know what I'm talking about. But you also have suites and studio apartments and etc. So there's different types of accommodation. This housing and meals is considering the basic packages of meals and the shared accommodation costs, and health insurance, which is compulsory, $3,324. So as a rule of thumb, with our scholarships apply, your budget per year is gonna come close to around $35,000 per year. Okay, you pay that each semester, so half of that each semester, and each semester you'll have access to paying that in installments, 5 installments. So continue doing the divisions there, but as I mentioned, you know, there's a lot of flexibility on how to pay. on scholarships, and on your application process as well. And this is the end. That's my information. You have my WhatsApp number there on display. That's my email as well. You can definitely, if you are serious about studying in Xavier University, please get in touch. WhatsApp is good for me. So just go ahead and do so. And if you screen capture this, which will be the best way to keep this information, you can also use that QR code to go straight into our majors, our programs. You will see the 4 main faculties or colleges and the more than 90 majors that we have for you to select and choose from. We have STEM programs, but we also have a lot of other interesting programs for you. Okay, that's it for me. Mayra, I think if there are any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them.
That sounds great. So first of all, thank you so much, Jorge. That was fantastic and very thorough. I think participants here were able to get a good view of not only the important steps in the application process, but also about Xavier University. And I just wanted to reinforce to everyone again that you guys can send questions here, or if you feel like you would like perhaps to talk to Jorge one-on-one, then there's the option that he just made himself available there. So you can contact him, reach him through those the WhatsApp, right, Jorge, and the email. So you can definitely reach out later if that's something that you would like to do as well. Yes. So people here are thanking you as well.
Yes,
okay, guys. So
it is for me a pleasure. Yes, it is a pleasure, and I think one of the advantages of considering Xavier University for your study project in the US is that you have me. So make use of it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Let me know that you were part of this event, and I'll put me in context, and I'll be happy to give you information directly.
Okay, that's great. So there is one question here, Jorge. Are you able to see it? It's
PhD,
question,
yes.
PhD, yeah.
Well, we don't have a specific in neuroscience. We have a very limited offer on PhDs. We actually have a limited offer on master degrees as well. And this is, as I mentioned before, is a mid-sized university. The main focus is undergraduate degrees. Most of our student population is studying undergraduate degrees. And in Cincinnati, for masters, for graduate degrees, we usually, our students would usually go ahead and apply to University of Cincinnati, which is the state university, same city, and they have a broader offer for graduate programs. And we're fine with that. We actually very proud of the quality of our undergraduate degrees, and I think it will be an interesting and a strategical way of thinking of Cincinnati as a destination, perhaps doing your undergraduate with Xavier University, and then thinking for your graduate perhaps on a bigger university like University of Cincinnati.
Yes, so that's a great route actually, and good for, I think, Kathleen. Yes, I think that answers your question as well. Yes, okay. Okay, guys. So if there's not anything else, or Jorge, if there's anything that you would like to add here, and we're almost done with our time here.
That's basically it. To me, it was a pleasure, our first time, Mayra, and hopefully, the beginning of a few more events for us. As I said, I'm very interested in be able to talk to you about the sports side of Xavier University. I'm pretty sure Brazilian students will be looking forward to it. And whenever you want me to talk more about any other aspect of studying in the US, I'm happy to participate and bring Xavier University to the table again.
I'm so happy to hear that. We'll definitely keep in touch. Yes. So to everybody, thank you so much. Muito obrigada, pessoal, pela participação de todos. Obrigada, Jorge, mais uma vez. Sei que você entende português que você falou. And that's it for our webinar. Guys, keep following Education USA on social media to get more information on upcoming events. All right. Have a lovely rest of the day to all. See you guys. Bye-bye.